Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Welcome to It's Time for More Injury Funding, the podcast for all who want to learn about legal funding and its significance in the personal injury, product liability, workers' compensation, trucking law, rideshare, and many other types of law practice domains. I'm your host, Laura, founder and CEO of More Injury Funding, the legal funding counselors with passion for law, medicine, legal funding, and heart for all suffering individuals. In this episode, I have a pleasure to be talking to attorney Michael Satterwhite and with Michael Kelly Injury Lawyers based in Boston, Massachusetts, and personal trainer Joshua Rodriquez with Exude Fitness in Lynn, Massachusetts. Today, we'll dive deep into a rich discussion around personal injury, health, and recovery while highlighting both Michael's and Joshua's experiences and expertise. At the end of our episode, I prepared fun pop-up questions for both guests, so stay tuned. Gentlemen, welcome to Sign for More Injury Funding Podcast.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you both. Michael, let's start with you. You experienced a car accident a few years ago. Can you share what happened and how it impacted your perspective as a personal injury attorney?
So I'm going to go back a little bit further than that. So my brother decided he was going to get married, and it was going to be a destination wedding, and it was going to be in the Dominican Republic and an all-inclusive resort. So I know I had to get in shape. So I retained the personal training services of Mr. Rodriguez, Joshua, and started to build up my physique and in preparation of this trip. So I was seeing Josh maybe 2 or 3 months before the trip. So I go on the trip. My brother gets married. Everything's good. I have a blast spending it with my immediate family. And I get into a taxi on my way to the airport, and we get rear-ended.
Mm,
And it's the Dominican Republic, so it's not like here in the U.S. where
no, it's not.
you pull over and you exchange insurance information. The guy drove away.
Oh, God.
And the
Okay.
taxi driver followed him with me in the
Wow.
car.
Okay.
So
Road rage sounds
it
like.
was it was a fun little experience. I didn't know what to expect, but eventually the guy pulled over and they had some exchange of words, which weren't very nice. And I finally got to the airport. I'm feeling all right. It's not too bad. So I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm injured. So I ended up getting on the airplane and flying to Virginia, where I was going to a second wedding for my wife's family. And after that, we ended up driving with the entire family back to Boston. And as I'm driving, I'm starting to feel some discomfort. And then, a couple days later, I couldn't stand up straight. It was very painful, and I couldn't lay down in the bed, couldn't lay down on the floor or a couch. I literally was in so much pain. So my wife's a nurse practitioner, and she knew something was wrong. I got in with my primary care, and keeping in mind that your primary care doctors are more preventative medicine than, uh, experts in personal injury cases. So,
Mm-hmm.
they referred me out. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in the interim, I went to go see Josh and I explained to him about my injuries. And he's in a plaza that has both a physical therapy and a chiropractic doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was able to connect me to these professionals, and I got right into the chiropractor because he knew Josh and they have a good relationship. And he looked at my back and he said, "Yeah, there's something definitely wrong." And he tried to do some adjustments. And then I got a referral from my primary care to an ortho, and they did some X-rays. I sent some over to you to see the curvature in my spine from this
Mm-hmm.
very minor accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent you a picture. I couldn't stand up straight. I was definitely favoring one side of my body. And again, it was just from such a minor accident that I thought was not that bad. But it took several months of recovery, and it took
Absolutely.
working with people with expertise in the area that I was able to identify it and address it. And it was a very painful experience.
Mhm. It's interesting you say that, Michael, because I've been in a car accident myself almost 3.5 years ago. So I am still in pain.
Oh,
I'm still in pain. Like today, I worked out, I probably did more than I should. And I feel it. It's just, yeah. So one of those days. But sorry it happened to you. I'm so sorry. And Dominican Republic, and on the other hand, I had my friend who slipped and fell, almost broken her hip. And she's a pretty tall girl. And so, there was a lot of no recovery, but,
Yeah, no, it's so important. We only get one body. So if anything, that's one of the things that that gets reiterated many times from Josh, my personal trainer. We have to take care of our bodies. It's so important, and we we ignore a lot of the signs, and we do so because we have busy lives. We have to work in order to pay rent. If we don't pay rent, we get evicted. If we get evicted, we're homeless, and now there's that cycle that we don't want to be in. But how long can you do that while you're injured and in pain? Like you have to address the underlying issue, or you're going to have long-term effects. And uh, that's why health is so important. And that's something that I continue to reemphasize to my clients when they call me and just say, "Oh, it was a minor accident." Well, did you get checked out? How minor was it? And it's so important that there's not large gaps uh, or any other reason for an insurance adjuster to, decline to provide compensation for your injuries.
for that major question, what happened and why there are gaps in treatment, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Michael, you mentioned that even small accidents can lead to significant injuries, like in your case. Um, can you explain this concept and why it's crucial for people to pay attention to their bodies after an accident?
So I can tell you time and time again, I have insurance adjusters that claim that there was minimal damage to a vehicle, so there couldn't be personal injuries. And that has been proven wrong time and time again by science. And that's why it's so important to get looked at right away, because what they're going to try to do in these gaps is say that the injury happened somewhere else. And we don't want that because we obviously know that there's a connection between your injury and the accident. So I have one case where the property damage was under $1,000 and the injuries were significant. And the adjuster was like, yeah, this couldn't have happened. And luckily, my client took pictures of the immediate after effect on his body. And he took a picture of his knees, which were completely bruised. And the data that's attached to those pictures show that it was taken at the day of the accident. So that's helpful for us. And so I sent those pictures to the adjuster, and I'm like, so how do you explain these injuries? And he couldn't have a rebuttal because he's going by a playbook where it's deny, disclaim, and just set it aside when that's not fair to people at all. And it's important to document, again, the damage, the injuries, and to seek treatment as soon as possible. And that's what I did. I drove back and I got right into the treatment. And I sought people that can look and say, hey, there's definitely something wrong. And it's important. And, obviously we have a day-to-day life, right? So when we get into an accident, sometimes it's an inconvenience, right? When I got into the accident and I knew my back was injured and I started to go to professionals, I made it a point to speak openly and actively with my professionals to get certain advice. Can I still go to the gym because I still want to be fit? I don't want this to be a setback. And the
Absolutely.
doctors will document it. Yeah, you can go as long as you do X, Y, and Z. Then you go to your personal trainer who is experienced, hopefully, like in my case, and he can train to those areas that were not impacted by it. So you can continue to live your life, do the things that make you happy, but continue to get the treatment you need in the other areas where injuries are sustained.
And last week on my podcast, I had an attorney from Virginia, Miss Cohen. And so she actually has a client who has been injured months ago. But so what would have so and during the accident, or right post accident, she had swollen face, bruised eye. She looked like a swollen person. You could tell because she hit her head on the wheel. And so had she not taken those pictures or had not gone to the emergency room, 2 months, 3, 5, 4 months later, nobody had known, she was injured. So it's very, very important that you do
So
that.
the issue I find in most cases is someone gets into a car accident and the police officer asks if they're okay. Most of the times they say yes because they don't know the immediate after effect. Or if they ask if they want an ambulance to be called, they automatically think, hey, this is going to have to come out of my pocket. And so they don't want to take the ambulance. But that ambulance ride can be very helpful because they're going to examine you and your current condition at the accident scene. It's going to be documented as to what they saw, what you said, those are all important and vital parts of your case. So if you can
Mhm.
take an ambulance, that's great. Take the ambulance to the hospital, even if you don't feel as though there's anything wrong, but you're not an expert, right? So go to the
Absolutely.
experts that can look
Mhm.
and make sure that everything is all right. And people say, "Oh, I don't want to spend hours at the emergency room." Well, do you want to spend years with an injury? That's the difference. You need to balance these things because it's going to be a long-term thing if you ignore your body.
Absolutely. Joshua, now let me ask you a question. In light of your experience, how do you define the value of health, both physically and mentally, in relation to personal injury cases? How long did it take you to get Michael back on his feet?
Well, I think health in general is the most important thing. Without our health, we don't have anything. And I feel like in the specific case of a personal injury, where you might not be able to do the things that you love to do, play with your kids, do your favorite hobbies, or perform at work, it's going to have a serious negative effect on your emotional and mental well-being. So I think, any decline in health is going to affect every area of your life. Um, for Michael's specific case, it was a journey because some days are better than others and these things take time. So I'd say about like somewhere around 4 months up until I think a full 6 months where it was like where we weren't afraid anymore because you can have some good days but there's always those little relapses where you can spasm or the pain will flare up due to all the other factors of the rest of his life, the other 23 hours that he's not here. So it takes time and I can imagine that an injury, a personal injury, can affect every aspect of your life. So it's important to address it as quickly as possible and start working towards recovery. Like Michael said, we worked with a team of professionals, so it was really a team effort. But the most important thing was his willingness to listen, to be coached, to be positive about recovery, and taking all the right steps and doing his homework.
Very well. Michael, Joshua, your trainer, has been instrumental in your recovery. Can you share how working with them has changed your approach to health and fitness post-accident?
So, obviously, as we grow up, we're taught that, um, wealth is something that's in dollar figures, right? That it's monetary, it's something that's measurable. And as you get older, and time and time again, when I speak to my older relatives that are near death, they always come back to time with family or time doing the things that you love. There's never been a case where they're like, oh, I loved all the money I made. It's never been the case. So when I talk about wealth with my clients, it's about the family aspect of it and being able to live a life without pain, right? Live a life where you can live a long life and you can enjoy it. Almost, my grandfather retired and died within a year after his retirement because he didn't take care of his health. And so he was only able to enjoy 1 year of retirement before passing away. So, that is very personal to me. So health is wealth when you think about it. So me going to a personal trainer to be healthy, me taking care of my injuries after this accident is wealth. So it's so important to look at the overall life expectancy in your family and see how long you can live in the current stage. And if it's not going to be something that is long term or something that is something that you can live with, you need to start addressing these things now. And it's so important. Um, when you go again, when you go to your doctor, your PCP, or you go to a physical or whatnot, they're more for preventative care, right? So it's really hard to react to the injuries that have already taken place. So, we hear about, well, I can't be injured because I can't afford to live. There are other resources that you can do to sustain your life during this. this horrendous period of time. A lot of times there are PIP benefits that will pay for lost wages. So while you're getting your recovery done, at least some money will come in that aspect. There are lenders out there that will loan against uh, your personal injury case. There are things that you can do that will help uh, the period of time that you need to get your treatment.
Mhm.
And all that is considered damages. So if you have to miss 2 months of work because of your injury, the responsible party's job is to put you in the place you would be in had you not gone to that car accident. So those are considered damages. We would collect all of those lost wages documentation, all the doctor's note excusing you from work, and we would include that in our demand. So you would be made whole. That's the whole purpose. So there are many answers to your excuses, but you're not going to know those answers unless you ask the questions. And that's why when you hire an experienced attorney, they can answer the questions. They have teams that can refer you out to get questions answered if we can't answer them. It's so important to pick experienced people and to get the treatment you need done in order to put you in the physical condition you were in beforehand,
Mhm.
as well as the mental. That's something that's ignored many, many times, where someone's suffering from PTSD and they just talk about it, but they never get treatment for it. It's okay to see a therapist. If you hit your head and you feel as though you have headaches more often, it's okay to see a concussion specialist to see if you got a concussion. It's okay to get an MRI because the X-ray doesn't show an injury, yet you still feel pain in that area. It's okay to do these things because it's going to locate the situation, the issue, and that's where we can address those issues and come to a conclusion. It's very simple, and I feel as though large portion of our population is just uneducated in that area, and they miss out on a lot, and that's just unfortunate.
What lessons have you learned about injury prevention that you think everyone should be aware of, especially after being involved in an accident, Michael?
So had I not been taking the training with Josh ahead of time for this trip, to have that summer bod, I probably would have been injured more.
Mm.
Obviously having a strong core is important. To be able to know about stretching is important. To know your body and the different body parts. That's one of the things that Josh did. He sat down with me. He had a picture of a skeleton with all the muscles, and he explained to me each body part
I
and
like
and
that.
and what it was for. And that is, again, it's all knowledge I didn't have beforehand because I didn't need it. And so, had I not had that pre-existing knowledge, it could have been a very different situation for me. And so, when I came back and I'm literally showing him, hey, I can't stand up straight, he's never seen anything like it, which was pretty funny. And I didn't either. My wife, again, knew something was wrong. So, um, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. And
Is that the picture you sent me earlier today, Michael, where you
yes,
were kind of like sideways,
yes,
like
yes.
misaligned?
Imagine seeing that in real
Oh God,
life.
that's painful. Just looking at that picture, so oh
You're
goodness.
like,
Mhm.
what?
Yeah,
What
that does look
happened?
painful.
It's like someone picked up my body and put it to the side. And that's how it was. Walking, I was under 40 when this happened, so it shouldn't have
Mm,
happened. But again, it's the way I was hit.
mm.
So, and it wasn't any fault of my own. So people need to realize, like, hey, I don't really want to go that route. I'm not a litigious person. Listen, you were injured. You get one body. Let us handle that aspect of it and get you the compensation and get you headed in the recovery that you need to be so you can be there for your family. I sent you a picture of me and my two middle children in the
They're
pool.
so cute. Hmm.
And that's what I needed. That's
Mm.
my wealth. My wealth is my health and being able to pick up my kids in the pool, to be able to do stuff like that with them because they're only young for a certain period of time, right? And I don't want them to, uh, I can't pick them up and bring
Wow.
them to bed. I can't, throw them in the sky. I have an 8-month-old baby. She loves being thrown up. If I didn't get the treatment, if I didn't have the resources like Exude Fitness and Josh and his team, or the chiropractor he referred me to, or the ortho, or any of those other people, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm healthy, I'm fit, I have the diet that I need to be on, all those things that were reemphasized after the accident. So The accident happened, right? So you can be upset about it, okay? But you got to take actions to get over that hump, right? And if you can be in a better position you were in before that accident, why wouldn't anyone want that?
For those who experience an accident, what advice do you have regarding seeking medical attention and recognizing potential injuries? And the question is either for Michael or Joshua.
Well, I would say as soon as, like Michael has said multiple times, as soon as you experience an accident, get yourself checked out. Even if you don't necessarily, there's like an adrenaline response. I don't know if you've ever gotten like a sharp cut. You almost don't even feel it in the moment, but then the next day it's like worse. So, getting checked out as soon as possible, getting fully examined, because injuries sometimes take time to take effect. So I think that's crucial. Immediately seeking a medical evaluation and then going from there just to make sure.
Like for mine, it didn't happen right away. My back did not look like that 2 seconds after. It took a while. Because like Josh, my mentality was getting to the next wedding, right? My kids are waiting on me. My brother just got married. Everything's great. I just need to get from point A to point B. And after that, my body's just like, yo, what's going on? And that happens time and time again. Um, I don't know what the services would have been like in the DR. I definitely would have had to extend my stay. And that's not something that I wanted to do. So again, time and time again, people just forego the police come into the scene, they forego the ambulance to the ER, they forego the ER, and they'll wait a week to see their PCP. And by that time, they missed a week of treatment that could have been
Mhm.
done to prevent further injury or further
Very much
pain.
so.
And that's
Mhm.
a lot of times where the adjuster on the insurance side will say, well, why did they wait a week? Maybe they weren't in that much pain. It's not fair. Every time you make that decision that to delay the treatment is just a justification for them to devalue your case.
From a legal standpoint, what common misconceptions do you, Michael, encounter from clients regarding injuries that arise from car, trekking, motorcycle, rideshare accidents?
That there's nothing that they can do. Like that it happened. Or, in Massachusetts, if you get into an accident, the tort threshold is $2,000 in medical bills. That's an ambulance ride. So you already have that right there just by taking the ambulance to the hospital. And then with the treatment, again, that goes towards your damages. If you have your own insurance, they cover you, which is called PIP, personal injury protection. And what happens is they seek to recover that from the responsible party's insurance company. So it's not like they're going to give you a surcharge or punish you for using your PIP benefits. People have this misconception of that. I just had a settlement where I was pushing for the BI because they had a bodily injury claim, which is from the responsible parties, because my client had a large underinsured motorist coverage. And I said, well, let's get the BI and then we'll go after your insurance for the underinsured motorist coverage. And she was adamant against it. She said, I don't want my insurance to be involved. Like, well, it's there. You pay for that benefit. It's not like it's harmful for you. It's not
Right.
like you're at fault. So
Mhm.
there's so many misconceptions with the auto industry and insurance that
Mhm.
many people just aren't educated on it. And that's my biggest thing is I want my clients to leave knowing more than when they came in. And my background, I've been a mediator or conciliator for a long time, and I mediate these cases for other attorneys. And with that knowledge and my approach to help educate people within the room, I use it for my client as well. But I also use it for the adjusters. When I see that they're proceeding in bad faith, I make it known that it's bad faith and then I spell it out for them. And I can tell you time and time again, that's been to the benefit of my client. So it's important to get an experienced attorney that understands the law, that can explain everything to the client or to the injured party so they understand the importance of certain areas. And again, making sure that they're seeing uh, the right providers to treat their treatment. So, if a client comes to me and says, hey, I'm feeling some pain here, well, what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? That's my biggest response to them. And that's where I feel as though clients just get fatigued from treatment. Even if it's going to the chiropractor 2 or 3 times a week, you can get tired of that, right? It's starting to get nice out. I want to go to the beach. Well, guess what? The summer's only 3 months. There's 12 months in a year. So get that treatment over and done with. So next year you can be on the beach every day. Don't skip a treatment to go do something fun today when you can do something fun multiple days once you're fully resolved with regards to your injuries.
When you mentioned misconceptions, so I encourage you, your clients, your colleagues, and then you, Joshua, listen to several of my podcast episodes about misconceptions. We have several attorneys from different states talking about that. So there are quite a few in personal injuries. Very interesting.
And even you can, like Josh, how many people come to you and say, "Hey, I want a body like this," but then they don't want to do the work? How often does that happen?
I mean, very often. It's we all, I think it's human nature to want everything immediately. But I think the irony is the thing that you ultimately want is if you work your way back, it's every single daily action, daily habits that lead to the ultimate result. So people want the end result, but they don't have the patience to do the day-to-day things that will lead them there. So it's a chat that's the biggest game. And I think in a personal injury, you can become impatient when you're not able to do, you just want to get back to your regular life. But that's not how it works, unfortunately. And but like you said, if you take the time, you're patient, you have a good attitude about it, then you'll be okay for the rest of your life instead of rushing the process and not fully healing.
So that's the biggest thing where people say, "I want to be in the position I was in before this injury," but then everything beforehand they don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And that's
it's
the
just
hardest part. And that's the main part.
yeah, and that's just I guess he's saying it's the human nature, it's the human
Mm,
brain, and I agree with that. But it's making sure you're dealing with an experienced attorney that has a team that can remind you of your appointments, that can do those things that sometimes you're not so good at. You know what I mean? You want someone that's going to be able to
absolutely.
help manage your calendar. You're going to
Mm,
want someone that can um, help go through your documentation, and you're going to want someone that knows how to put together a demand that justifiably advocates for your injuries and for reasonable compensation.
very
I can
much
tell
so.
you just recently, I had two cases that clients fired their previous attorney.
Mm,
And on both those cases, I was able to settle for double the amount that their previous attorney had
congratulations.
advocated that they accept. One was 20,000, one was take this 20,000, take this 20,000. And I'm looking at the documents. I'm like, well, he didn't put this in the demand. He didn't put that in the demand. You should be getting double this. And so the adjuster said, no, I told that the previous attorney that was the highest that I was going to offer. Da, 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 da. I'm like, well, you forgot this, that, and the other. And then she came back and said, okay, I can do the 40. And then the other was 100. So, they were advocating that they take 40, 40, 40. I was able to get them 100. So it's all about looking again at the injuries. It's about looking at the treatment and allocating that to the cause, which is the accident. You wouldn't be going to see a therapist about PTSD if you weren't in the car accident. You wouldn't
Exactly.
be going to see the chiropractor for your injuries. You wouldn't be going to ortho or getting an MRI or an X-ray or a CAT scan or going to your PCP as often as you do
That's
because
right.
that wouldn't be for but for the accident. So that's what's so important.
How has your accident and subsequent recovery journey affected your understanding of the mind-body connection, particularly in the legal field, Michael?
Most people feel as though it only happens to them, right? And it's that, I don't want to call it the woe is me aspect, but it's that mentality where, like, hey, you wouldn't understand because you haven't gone through this. So to be able to sit down with my client and say, hey, I have gone through this. Listen, this was, and I can show them pictures. Like there's legitimate evidence. And then I can, talk about what treatment I did to get to where I am today. And it's the world of difference when you're talking to people and you can relate to them. It's being empathetic, it's being sympathetic, it's being relatable. Those are all things that clients want. They want someone that's not just going to spew out legalese and not explain the substance or the definitions but behind it. And that's where, so I've served on the local school committee in my city for 4 years. I before this I practiced special education law. So my a lot of my clients need accommodations and they need to be talked to in a way that's different than the general public of students. So I understand on that level that everybody learns differently and everybody listens differently. And I can tell you wholeheartedly that I get the same from Josh as a personal trainer. The way he speaks to me is different than the way he speaks to his other clients because we receive differently. And that's something that he's become an expert in. And that's why he has success because everybody learns differently, everybody reacts differently. And that is a skill that not many people have. So I'm successful with my clients because of that, and I can read the adjuster, I can see their approach, and I can respond to those things too. And that's where we get quicker resolutions because I don't let these things sit. And if I feel as though, again, that the adjuster's acting with bad faith or in a way that is not allowed under the law, I will escalate that to their supervisor, and more than likely it's going to be reassigned to another adjuster, and hopefully we come to a resolution much quicker. But again, it's the knowledge, it's the way I'm able to explain these things to people that make the world of difference.
Mm. Joshua, as a trainer, what techniques and strategies have you employed to help Michael during this recovery, and how can these be applied to others or other of your clients facing similar challenges?
Well, everything starts from a strong foundation. And so as when it comes to our bodies, it's our core. And I think when people hear that word, I think they think of a six pack, right? But you actually
Of
have a
course.
lot of muscles that work together that kind of protect your spine, including your back, yes, your abs, but as well your legs, your glutes. All of those muscles need to work together. So uh, we need to work on whenever, whether it's a personal injury or just overall health, you need to develop a strong core. So that can include resistance training, whether with it's your body or weights and cables and all of those things. But then you also need mobility training. I think if you work seated most of the day, you're getting a lot of tightness in the hips and the lower back. And that's a very common injury with people who work at an office setting. So learning flexibility drills, mobility drills, while also strengthening your core is going to set you up not only for recovery if you had an injury, but prevention. So a person with a stronger core is much less likely to get hurt because your body can handle the impact. And if you do get hurt, you're going to recover a lot more quickly than someone who didn't have that strong foundation. So that's pretty much where everything is built from.
Good to know. Michael, how has your personal experience with injury and recovery influenced your practice at the current law firm, Michael Kelly Injury Lawyers, and the way you advocate for your clients?
So whenever I learn something new or if something worked for me in a way that was beneficial to our client, is I share it across the office. Okay. So after my accident, I sent out an email with pictures throughout the treatment. I provided that information to my team so they could all be on that journey with me, just so they can see, hey, I'm right here. You guys know and love the Michael that you work with. And this is what I'm going through. So when you're working with your clients, remember that, right? Because it can happen to any one of us. Okay. So um, again, it's a relatable story that I personally can relate to my clients and help them understand the importance of treatment, to help them understand the importance of recovery, to help them understand that, yes, it's going to be difficult for a period of time, but that difficulty didn't start from you. The difficulty started from the other responsible party, and they're going to pay for it. So let's set that aside and work on getting you back to normal. And again, to be able to personally relate, to be able to, and it's one of the things that Josh was just talking about was core and all this other stuff. We work in a desk job. We sit down quite often. I've referred multiple coworkers to Josh that trained with him as well, and I did that because it worked. So this is information that I want to share and provide. So again, no one feels the pain or have to live through the pain because it's not fair. Let's get you treated. Let's get the treatment completed so that you're in the physical and mental space that you were in before the accident. And then you get the compensation for the fact that it happened. And everything else in between we can deal with. We understand that you have rent. We understand that you have bills. You might have a kid going into college and all that stuff, and we can work through that. Get healthy because that is the ultimate wealth that you'll get in this lifetime.
Kudos to Joshua and kudos to my personal trainers, Brian and Gina at Lifetime Fitness in Woodstock, Georgia. They're amazing. They're putting me back together. All right, Joshua. So how important do you believe a holistic approach to health is for recovery after an accident? And what elements do you include in this approach?
So when you experience any kind of trauma or injury, there's going to be increased levels of inflammation. So inflammation is a state in which the body does not want to be in, and it can ripple out into all other areas, even away from the site of injury, up to affecting kind of your cognitive function, so how you think. You might not be able to think as clearly, and so we need to bring the inflammation down, and that starts with actually sleep. So, sleep is the most powerful anti-inflammatory drug that has ever existed. So proper sleep hygiene is very important. And then after that, you want to have a diet that supports reducing inflammation. So we know that processed foods the evidence is very clear that processed foods are going to drive inflammation up, and whole foods, a whole food diet with plenty of fruits, vegetables, and healthy sources of protein are anti-inflammatory. Fruits especially have very powerful antioxidants that are going to help with the healing process. So we have to have proper sleep hygiene. We have to have a very good diet that's going to aid the recovery process and help your body do what it needs to do. Then on top of that, we're going to get into the exercise and the physical component, right? So like back to what we were discussing before, we have to strengthen your core. We have to stretch the muscles that have become very tight. You have to layer all of those things. And at the underlying current of all of this is your mental attitude. Working Michael is a very positive person. So that was very
And tell.
helpful because he was very optimistic, like recovery was going to happen, and he was willing to work through the hard days because he knew there was light at the end of the tunnel. So you need to have the belief that you are going to get better. And you got to trust the professionals that you are working with to guide you in this process. So that's what I believe that like in a holistic approach is starting from sleep all the way to your attitude and everything in between.
Wonderful. Thank you. Michael, what steps do you take to educate your clients on the importance of monitoring their health after an accident?
It's all about documentation. Document how you feel. So we use this app called Case Status at our practice. And what's great is it gives them real-time information as to their case and how it's moving along in our firm. But it also gives them the ability to tell us how they feel on any particular day, to put in any appointments that they go to, and how they feel before and after that appointment. And we're able to track their progress, right? So when I'm speaking to you, I know exactly what you're going through. You don't have to re-explain it to me. When I'm going to pick up the phone and talk to you, it's going to be because the information that you're sharing with me. So it really is a team effort, just like Josh was talking about. It's about understanding, hey, I have a vested interest in the outcome because you do, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
it's important to take that very seriously. So utilizing the tools that we put in place, we pay for those tools for you because we know that they work. And it's so important to see the progress happening because guess what? If it's not happening, then there's an issue. There's an
mhm,
underlying issue we need to come to find out about so we can address that because you're supposed to feel better. And a lot of times, as you're going through PIP and they're paying medical bills, they might request what's called an IME, an independent medical examination. And you're going to go see an independent doctor who's typically going to say that you've reached your maximum
mhm.
medical treatment for this particular accident. And that happens a lot because when they go to the IME, they don't bring their medical bills. And that's an issue. They should have all of the information that a medical professional needs to give a determination based off of the records that they have. When you go
Mhm.
with just an X-ray or the ER discharge paperwork, they have to guess the rest. So having an experienced attorney that can prepare you for your IME, meaning making sure you have all the proper documentation you need, is important because again, that's going to be used against you. So that independent medical examination is a vital portion because it's going to be used by the BI's adjuster as well. And you might have to see an IME for them as well. But uh, we we're here to help and to make sure that you have all the information, documentation, and support you need throughout the entire process.
Michael, in your opinion, what can be done to raise awareness about the potential for serious injuries from seemingly minor accidents in the community?
One of the things that Michael Kelly is known for is his advertisement. And it's not just him, handing out a settlement check. A lot of times, his advertisement is done with information that will educate the general public. And that's done purposely because again, my job's easier when you know what you need to do, right?
Mhm.
So again, he could do a commercial like the other attorneys that just look like they're giving out cash. That's the end result.
I love
Let's
it.
talk
I've seen
about
those too.
Let's talk about what you need to do before you
Mhm.
get to that
Mhm.
particular one. And there's so many misleading commercials now where they're saying you don't even need an attorney and they're giving people are getting $100,000 checks. It doesn't happen that way. So Mr. Kelly, Michael Kelly, has made it a point that when you see advertisement from his firm, there's something that you're going to receive that is educational that will help you in the future. And me, myself, Thursdays and Fridays, the firm pays me to do volunteer conciliations and mediations throughout the trial courts. So I'm building relationships with the clerk's offices, with the judges, and with the general population so they understand these things. It's so important that people are educated on that aspect of things. And Michael Kelly puts his money where his mouth is time and time again, and that's what separates us from the other firms.
Very nice guy. I had him on my episode a couple months ago. Joshua, what has been the most rewarding aspect of working with Michael during his recovery, and what insights have you gained from this experience?
I think when I saw him, when he was like completely out, out of alignment, and it was really shocking. Like we laugh about it now, but it's a scary thing, especially because you're like, am I going to be like this forever? What does this mean? Your mind goes into a million different places, and so seeing the healing process and seeing him recover is a truly fulfilling thing because when he was just like started to do things that he never thought he was going to be able to do again, and to finally, the way his shoulders dropped when he just realized like I don't have to worry about my back anymore. I can actually just live my life. That is a really fulfilling thing. So it never ceases to amaze me how just going through the motions, investing time in your health, um, how it can, just a few hours a week, how it can really change your life. So I love what I do, and I love, seeing people really just get back on track and be able to live their life to the fullest.
And Joshua, what trends are you currently seeing in personal injury cases related to car accidents, particularly regarding recovery processes?
Well, I think in general, we touched upon this earlier, the more fit that you are, you're going to have, it's like you're building an armor on your body so that whatever life throws at you, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. An accident can happen anytime, any place, and it usually happens when you least expect it. So your best line of defense is actually taking care of yourself and setting yourself up, building that armor, building that muscle. Um, so that if you are unfortunately in an accident, you have a better chance of recovery than and you would have otherwise had if you were not as fit going in. But just across the board, it's lower back. A lot of people, it's their back, their hips, their neck, all of which could have been made better if they had been investing in their health beforehand. So I think it's the best preventative medicine is investing time in your health.
This was so great. I hope our conversation about personal injury, health, and recovery from an attorney's and a fitness coach's perspective was informative and educational. And as promised, here's a fun pop question for our guests to have a smooth end to our episode today. Are you both ready?
Ready.
All right, let's do it. Joshua, what's a book that has profoundly influenced your life, and what lessons did you take from it?
So many books, but I really love the book The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People
Oh,
by
I read that
Stephen
one.
Covey.
I love it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's an amazing book, and there's a principle in it called begin with the end in mind. And so for me, when I had my own personal health scares and when I was very young, and so that principle of fast forwarding to the end of your life and seeing, what is it that you want to become? Who do you want to become? And how do you want your life to play out? I saw somebody that was healthy and very happy all the way through into old age. And so backing up from that, it's I had to structure my days in a way that would lead to that ultimate result. And that meant taking time to take care of my health. So taking those actions today will lead to that wonderful end that I saw. So I think it's a great book. Everyone should read it. But if you could I took away from that is the daily habits are what really lead to the ultimate goal.
I love it. Michael, if you could choose one superpower, one only, to aid you in your work, what would it be and how would you use it?
To be able to read people's minds.
Ah, don't we all want that?
My
Oh
life would,
man.
my days would be 5 minutes long,
Oh my goodness. And then
but
what would you do with the rest of the time? Sit, lay on the beach and just drink some margaritas?
I would spend time with more time with my kids, my grown
Oh,
kids and
I
my
love
wife
it.
and more time training obviously with Josh. So,
Oh
that's
yeah, right.
that's what I would do with it. I think again, everyone learns differently and that's where I learned through my years of experience and to be able to really grasp immediately how someone is receiving things is important. Mental health. I had to deal with that in my family with my mother who had mental health illness, and you could say one thing to her, and in her when it got into her head and her mind, it was aggressive and mean. When it came from your mouth, it was out of a loving heart. And sometimes that could be, the barrier, and to understand where people are coming from is so important.
Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. And if anybody needs your legal assistance with a personal injury matter, how can they reach you, Michael?
Great. So our phone number is very easy. So it's callkellycall4.com. So CALLKELLY, the number 4.com. The phone number is 617-444-4444. Our slogan is Call Kelly Call 4. If you call, just ask to speak to Michael Satterwhite, and I'll be happy to speak with you about your personal injury case.
And you also, I believe, are on LinkedIn and Instagram and all the social
Correct.
media
Link
resources.
all the social media. You'll be able to reach out to me.
Awesome. Joshua, and if anyone is looking for your best fitness coach or best fitness coach in the States, how can they find you?
So we do have a local gym in Lynn, Massachusetts. But mostly our Instagram is where people message us. Exude Fitness _ Inc. It's got a very distinct logo, so you will be able to recognize it's a butterfly that looks like a lion. But we also work with virtual clients as well. So if you message us through there, we can help you from wherever you're at, and distance is no problem. So you'll be able to get that expertise wherever you are.
I love it. That was attorney Michael Satterwhite with Michael Kelly Injury Lawyers based in Boston, Massachusetts, and personal trainer Joshua Rodriquez with Exude Fitness in Lynn, Massachusetts. I want to thank you all for listening and watching our episode today. For more tips and tricks on legal, funding, and personal injury law and medicine related topics, follow me, like, and subscribe to It's Time for More Injury and Funding podcast on several podcast platforms worldwide. And follow More Injury Funding on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, Google Business Profile, and my website at moreinjuryfunding.com. I can't wait to see my dear listeners and viewers at my next upcoming episode. Until then, be well. Thank you.